Okay, so here we are going to broaden our understanding how to get this dynamic space or width and then generate widgets. Like as you can see over here, these dots are actually widgets. Okay, so any kind of thing on the pixel or as a pixel you see, that would be a widget in Flutter. Anyway, so layout builder would give us this space, available space, and List.generate would help us to first to know how many items we want, and then it would generate. And then actually the size of this widgets generated would be given by sized box or any other widget like container. That's also okay. So the basic math over here is, so we'll have this available space, which is the most important one, and we'll get it through layout builder. And then we'll have a random number. You have to divide this available space using this random number to actually generate a certain amount of number over here, and that number would be given to list.generate, and then it would generate certain number of widgets for us. Now take another look so that we understand it better. Okay, so here there's another picture that would help us to know. For example, we have two widgets over here, widget 1 and widget 2, and we want to get the available space or width between these two widgets. So what do we need to do? Between these two widgets, actually we need to insert layout builder. So as I said earlier, layout builder would get us width. Okay, and then here of course we see a new widget which is called flex. Why we need that? Before we need that and why we need that, let me tell you about list.generate widget. As I said that earlier, list.generate would help us to generate widgets. So how it's going to do that? It would take this width, and earlier picture I told you that we also need a random number. So this is the random number and this is the width. So based on that, the input would be given to list.generate widget, and then it would actually generate widgets for us. But at the same time, it would take this sized box because you actually want certain widget, okay, not a random widget. So either you want container or sized box or anything like that. Okay, so now where's this flex coming over here? Say for example it generated 10 widgets. Okay, now this 10 widgets actually would be sitting together, not spaced. Like here, as you can see, there are spaces between these two widgets. So to create this kind of space between the widgets, that's why we need this. Okay, so that's why we need this flex widget. So eventually we'd be able to generate widgets, and that widgets would look like this. So this one, I put it here so that you understand better. Now, why do we put in steps like this? Because you know, Flutter, all the widgets are nested. So layout builder, inside it will have flex, inside flex will have list.generate, and inside list.generate will have sized box. And eventual output would be a dynamically generated widget like this based on your layout builder. Okay, so now since we have the basic understanding of how this works, so now we're gonna go ahead and actually start implementing on this, and this is where we want to focus. Well, so inside this sized box widget, this one, we don't want to have it. Well, even before that, let's go ahead and create actually a new widget in it. Okay, so here I'm going to create a new file, and here we're gonna call it app layout builder widget dart. So let's go ahead and add it, and then over here we're gonna create a stateless class, and we're gonna call it app layout builder widget. Okay, now let's go ahead and import the necessary things. Okay, cool. And then over here we can just simply go ahead and call here app layout builder widget. Okay, so this is what we're gonna import, and we're gonna keep as it is. Now, a few things that we have to know, that earlier we learned that we also need to pass a random number. So that's what we are going to do. Now, if we're gonna pass a random number, we need to grab it over here. Okay, so here we can say final int random divider. I think that's your divider. This one. This is what we want to do, and we also want to pass. Okay, I think regarding this, I'm gonna talk back later. Now here, this is something that we would say this is required. This dot random divider. So this is what that we want whenever we call this class. We want that you have to pass this one, so that's why we said this is required. All right, and from this moment on, now we're here we can also say random divider, and we're gonna pass 6. You can actually pretty much pass any number, and we'll also talk about that later. Okay, now let's come over here and remove all of it, and here we're gonna pass LayoutBuilder widget. This is what we said earlier, that the first thing we want to pass is LayoutBuilder widget, and inside this here we can pass build context, and then box constraints, like this, and then inside this we're going to return over here. Okay, let's go ahead and return, and the error should be gone. Okay, so now inside this it does want you to return something, so return flags like this. Okay, and of course instead of flags you need to set up some arguments like directions, this and that. Okay, so let's go ahead and set up the directions first, and axis dot horizontal. Okay, right, so we want to put things horizontally, so that's why we put that here. Okay, so now this is fine. A few things to know that now earlier we learned that we need to pass LayoutBuilder. Let me find my file. Okay, most probably this one, right? So here we learned that we need to pass LayoutBuilder, and that's what exactly we are doing. And after that we also said flex widget, right? And that's also exactly we are doing. So LayoutBuilder flex, but of course these are some arguments that we need to pass. Now I didn't mention that, but you need to do that, and most importantly box constraint. And in fact this is the one that actually gives you a lot of information, and it's so interesting that over here actually we can go ahead and print. So let's go ahead and do like this, constraints dot constraint. This one we can use this, so this is right away will give us some interesting information. So let's go ahead and open up a terminal. Well, we don't need to open up a terminal, so we can actually, we'll also say it over here. Okay, now let me go ahead and run it. Okay, so here you do see that we do see 74. And what is this 74? 74 is the space between these two widgets. Okay, so that's what has been printed over here, and that's how actually the layout builder widgets work. Okay, so they are always between two widgets and the space. So we already know that we already have this one, and that's what we wanted. Okay, so I said earlier that LayoutBuilder gives you like the space between two widgets, and that's what it's giving us. Of course here we have flags, and of course we need to use the flags. We are not there yet. Okay, so there are other properties that we use from flags. Okay, so now over here there's the property called children, and inside this we want to put a list of widgets. Now over here this means list of widgets, okay, this kind of thing. But here we have a widget or class List.generate. Actually this widget List.generate, we can use this one. Now the important part is over here, length. So how many to generate? Well, interestingly enough, the first thing we could do over here, we can take this one. Okay, so let's go ahead and take this, and after that we can pass a random divider. Okay, now this random divider may actually return us float or decimal numbers. So over here we're gonna wrap it to floor, so which means integer number. Okay, like for example, if you do here wrap it to floor, you'll see that this just 74. Let's go ahead and run it. And okay, here we have error. So now let's go ahead and run it. You see just 74, because when we use dot floor on a certain number, what happens is that it gives you complete integer, the closest integer. Now of course, what's gonna happen over here, you can also do like this, random number, and based on that, let's see what we get. Okay, you can do hot reload in 12, because we had 74 and it looks like we are dividing by what is it, we are dividing by a number which is a random number. And what is this random number though? But this random number is coming from here, 6, so we are dividing it by 6, and then we see it here 12. Okay, but if you do remove it, this floor dot floor, and we'll see that, okay, well, it's not close to 12.5, so it takes the closest biggest integer, which is 12. Okay, and so that's how it works. So now we know that over here it's telling you that, okay, it's going to generate 12 of the widgets, because remember, if you hover over on this, the first one is the length that tells you how many widgets to generate. So here actually we are generating 12 of them. Now the main two important factor is this, for this constraint width and random number. But of course, if your random number is bigger, then it will generate fewer widgets. Remember, the smaller it is, more widgets, the bigger it is, fewer widgets. Okay, so here we know that now it's going to return us 12 of them, because we are doing floor, right? And then later on, earlier we also said that we need sized box. So far we have layout builder, flex, and list widgets, and now sized box. Now the equal spacing thing, I'm going to come back soon. Let me go ahead and do this sized box first, because the order is a bit weird though, the way we're doing it. Anyway, so now here we are inside this sized box, and then here we could do width, say for example 3. Oh, let's save it. Okay, well, nothing is visible here yet, but how about we're gonna put a color over here. Okay, so let's go ahead and put color. But in fact, the problem is inside this sized box you can't really put a color, but here we can first put a child, and there is another widget which is called decorated box. We can put that one, and then we can do decoration, and then here box decoration. Okay, box decoration, and inside this here we can put color, and we can do colors.white. And it looks like we also need to import the package. All right, so this one, right? So now let's go ahead and save it. Okay, so it looks like it's still not visible. Now the reason is here we do have width, but we don't have height. So let's give it a height, and height say 1, and then now let's save it, and here we go. Now it's already up there, but it's too small. Okay, so that's the first thing. Now here is this thing, the one that I was telling you, that this one, the flex comes in. What does this flex do? Well, this flex actually helps you to spread them equally. but you need to tell it to do that explicitly though. So here we can do main axis alignment. So once again, main axis alignment dot space between this one. Let's go ahead and do that, and let's go ahead and run it. And as you can see here, it already spread them separately. Okay, and now they're extending from the left to the right, and this is beautiful, and that's exactly what we wanted, and this is working. And then over here, let's see what's happening. You can also put a const modifier. Okay, so it's gonna work. So far this was the most complex part, and we just did that. So as we said earlier, that we need all these things. So what are the things that we need? We need a layout builder, we needed a flex, List.generate, and then sized box, and then we had eventually a sized box. But regarding sized box, in fact, you can also replace this with a container. Then you'd be also able to actually decorate it, so it doesn't really matter. And here, this part plays an important role. Now before I wrap up this one, here we need to make some changes. Let's go ahead and put const modifier so that our code looks beautiful. Now here, this is not at the top, so there is this problem. Now to be able to do that, over here we can put, say, height, because sized box takes height, right? And then here let's put 24. Let's save it. Now it came down. Now as it came down, over here we also have this one. Now we are going to actually comment it out. So now it looks beautiful. So with this, we are pretty much done with this section, the one that we are doing with LayoutBuilder.